The LaTrax Teton has been a favorite of ours here at BC Hobbies for a long time. This little mini monster truck is cheap, fast, durable, easy to work on, replacement parts are plentiful, and it's the perfect entry point into the RC hobby. For the past 8 years, the Teton and its sibling, the Pre-Runner, which is basically the same vehicle with a different body shell, have been the de facto standard for small, fast off-road RC cars. However, a brand new contender has just entered the market, and we're here to find out if it can beat the Teton at its own game. The Arrma Granite Grom is Horizon Hobby's answer to the Teton, and although we've had mixed experiences with Arrma in the past, we were quite impressed with this little machine. It undercuts the Teton slightly on price. The Grom is $190 Canadian, while the Teton is $200. Apart from the pickup truck body, these two vehicles are very similar in overall design. Both use a standard tub chassis with a shaft-driven four-wheel drive and independent suspension, with a brushed motor and servo on one side and a battery on the other. Both have exactly the same wheelbase, although the Grom is significantly wider. The Grom also has significantly more ground clearance, making it more capable off-road than the Teton, especially in grass. On the other hand, the Teton's lower center of gravity makes it much more stable and helps it handle better on pavement. Both trucks come with oil-filled shocks, and both ride very smooth over bumps and jumps. The Teton and the Grom have slightly different approaches to electronics, but both seem to work well. The Teton uses the same radio system as other basic Traxxas cars, with a separate receiver and ESC. The Grom has a combination receiver and ESC unit, which saves space and weight, but also means that if either one breaks, the whole unit has to be replaced. Both trucks also have the option to limit their speed, making them much easier to drive for children and newcomers to the hobby. On the Teton, this mode is controlled by a button on the ESC itself, while the Grom uses a switch on the back of the transmitter. The Teton body is held on with traditional body clips, while the Grom has a new clipless body mounting system. Removing the Grom body can be a bit tricky, as it requires pushing both of these tabs inward while lifting up and forward on the body, and it kinda makes me wish I had 3 hands. On the plus side though, there are no body clips to lose, and the body does look cleaner with no visible post holes. The Grom chassis is assembled with hex screws, while the Teton uses Phillips screws. I find hex screws much easier to work with, although since most people already own a small Phillips screwdriver, the Teton may be easier to work on without a dedicated RC toolset. The Teton comes with a 7.2 volt nickel metal hydride battery pack, while the Grom uses a 7.4 volt 2-cell hardcase LiPo, which can only be charged with a Spectrum smart charger. Of course, none of this really matters if you're only going to use the battery and charger included with the vehicle. The Teton has been around for so long that it's easy to forget just how much fun these things are. Whether it's on gravel, dirt, or asphalt, the Teton is surprisingly fast for its size, and the handling is well balanced and forgiving. One thing to keep an eye on with these is the motor temperature, especially when driving on difficult terrain or in hot weather. Tall grass is the Achilles heel of the Teton, and the motor can easily bog down, overheat, and burn out. Sand and gravel can also be a problem, and we actually blew the motor in this Teton while filming because a piece of gravel got inside it. Luckily, a new motor is only $15 Canadian, and it was very quick and easy to replace. The Teton is a great platform for learning how to work on RC cars, partly because of its simple chassis design, and also because parts are cheap and plentiful. If you break a suspension arm, for example, a pair of new ones is only $9 Canadian, and you can upgrade them to stronger ones for $16. If you want something fast that you can upgrade over time, the Teton is hard to beat. With all that said, the Grom definitely gives the Teton a run for its money. Since it uses a lithium battery pack, it's slightly lighter and quicker off the line, although the top speed is about the same. The Grom is noticeably quieter, and with its increased ground clearance, it has an easier time going over grass and rough terrain. However, that does come at the cost of being easier to tip over. The wider stance helps a bit with this, but overall, the Grom just doesn't feel as stable as the Teton. That wide stance causes it to spin out much more easily, and the steering is more sensitive and less forgiving. We also had a recurring problem with pieces of gravel getting stuck in the suspension and jamming the wheels, although that's an almost universal issue with small RC cars, and it's more the fault of this specific size of gravel than the vehicle itself. The Grom's motor didn't heat up as much as the Teton's because it has a heatsink on it. Although it was harder to keep it in a straight line, the Grom was every bit as much fun to whip around. We also tried both vehicles on a paved BMX track. Both of them did very well here, although keeping them on the track at high speed took a lot of practice. The Teton did seem a bit easier to handle in the corners thanks to its lower center of gravity and less touchy steering, but after a few minutes of practice, I was almost as confident taking the Grom around the same loop. If it hadn't been freezing cold on the day we filmed this, I could easily have spent all day just running laps around the track and improving my ability to hold speed through the corners and stay on the pavement through the jumps. Despite taking several tumbles, we didn't break any parts on either of the trucks, although the Teton did lose a few body clips. While it's worth keeping in mind that the Teton does have a better variety of replacement and upgrade parts available, since it's been around so much longer, all the basic replacement parts for the Grom are available as well, and you have to push the trucks pretty hard to start breaking parts. It remains to be seen which parts on the Grom will end up being its weak points in the long term, but on first impressions, Arrma seems to have built a pretty solid little truck. While it probably won't replace the Teton as our starter vehicle of choice, it's definitely earned a spot alongside it on the shelf.
Wow. Oh, you're doing a pretty darn good job controlling it.
Well, that about wraps up this review. To get your Teton or Grom, visit us at BC Hobbies or shop online at bchobbies.com. If you want one for Christmas, you might want to grab it now, because these things sell like hotcakes this time of year, and with good reason. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the channel. I'm Michael, and I will see you next time.